The director of the Secret Service has finally resigned. And if you haven't seen that ridiculous hearing, trust me, it's more crazy than Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, yo. But more important than that, body cam footage was leaked to the public, making the Secret Service look sus as fuck. This video is gonna be a long one, and you're gonna be pissed at a lot of people, from the American government to the Secret Service, and maybe even Donald Trump himself.
I like to see bad people fail.
So make sure you stick to the end, because I'm gonna reveal something about Donald Trump and the Secret Service that will make you believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that this was an inside job. So smash that like button, grab your beer, popcorn, and gummy bears as we go deeper into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. 大鸡大条. Kimberly Cheatle, a 30-year-old veteran of the Secret Service who back in 2019 left to go protect Pepsi cans and Dorito bags until creepy Sleepy Joe called her back to be smelled upon and given the position of the director of the Secret Service. Now, there are a lot of right-wingers who try to slap her with a DEI hire label, but the fact of the matter is Kimberly Cheatle is not the first female director of the Secret Service. But the one thing Kimberly did prove is that men and women are truly equal in their ability to completely fuck things up due to their incompetence when it comes to serving at high-level positions in the American government. And this very sad fact brought Democrats and Republicans together, bipartisan, as one team to 联盟吊打 Kimberly Cheatle and completely rip her a new asshole. Now, upon watching the first few minutes of this hearing, it was already very clear that the former director of the Secret Service wasn't gonna tell anyone anything.
I will be transparent as possible when I speak with you, understanding, though, at times that I may be limited in providing a thorough response in this open setting due to associated risks with sharing highly sensitive protective methodologies. I do not want to inadvertently provide you today with inaccurate information.
A rough translation:
因为有一些内容跟秘密很敏感呢，我怕我会讲错话，所以我就不跟你们说哦。
You're being an asshole.
Now, most of her refusal to answer questions came from her excuse that they needed 60 days to create a full report, and only then could they give in detail what actually went down. And this is where even a high-level female Xiao Caihong House Representative AOC could smell bullshit, and she was about to lay in on this woman.
We are currently in the midst of an especially concentrated presidential campaign in the moment. That is also paired with, of course, elections happening across the country that are happening in about 100 days. So the notion of a report coming out in 60 days when the threat environment is so high in the United States, irrespective of party, is not acceptable. And I think it's very important to understand that. This is not theater. This is not about jockeying. This is about the safety of some of the most highly targeted and valued targets internationally and domestically in the United States of America. So the idea that a report will be finalized in 60 days, let alone prior to any actionable decisions that would be made, is simply not acceptable. It has been 10 days since an assassination attempt on a former president of the United States, regardless of party. There need to be answers. Again, this party, this committee, this is not a moment of theater. We have to make policy decisions, and we have to make them now.
For once, AOC has a really good point. You got an election less than 100 days out, and you're claiming it's going to take more than half of that time to actually explain what went down?
I think I can smell shite.
But this was just the warm-up, as AOC was just softening up Cheatle a bit and preparing her to take an absolute beating at the hands of the Republicans. And they were going to kick this off by asking her the easiest and most obvious question that was on everybody's minds. Why in the hell wasn't there anyone guarding that goddamn roof?
Obviously, there were many security failures on the day of the attempted assassination and leading up to that day. Let's start with the building that the shooter used to shoot President Trump from. At any point Saturday, did the Secret Service have an agent on top of that roof?
Sir, I'm sure, as you can imagine, that we are just 9 days out from this incident, and there's still an ongoing investigation. And so I want to make sure that any information that we are providing to you is factual.
You can't, okay. Can you answer why the Secret Service didn't place a single agent on the roof?
We are still looking into the advanced process and the decisions that were made.
Okay. How many Secret Service agents were assigned to President Trump on the day of the rally?
Again, I'm not going to get into the specifics of the numbers of personnel that we had there, but we feel that there was a sufficient number of agents assigned.
There are reports that several agents assigned to the rally on July 13th were temporary agents not normally assigned to President Trump. Is that accurate?
What I can tell you is that the agents that were assigned to former President Trump are Secret Service agents that provide close protection to him, and that was what was actual on that day.
How many temporary agents were there that day?
Quite frequently, sir, during campaign events, the Secret Service utilizes agents from HSI or the Department of Homeland Security.
You don't know how many?
Supplement
you can't answer?
Our plan.
So as you can see, Cheatle has a very difficult time answering some very basic questions. Was there ever anyone on the roof? Why wasn't there anyone on the roof? And as you can see, the congressman knows very well that her responses are going to be complete bullshit, which is why he didn't even allow her to respond in full. But there is one question she surprisingly does answer, and her response will make you yell at your screen.
One of the things that you said, I believe in an interview, that there wasn't an agent on the roof because it was a sloped roof. Is that normal, and do you fear that that immediately creates an opportunity for future would-be assassins to look for a slanted roof? I mean, this is a huge question that every American has. Why wasn't a Secret Service agent on the roof? And there have been reports that agents were supposed to be on the roof, but it was hot that day and they didn't want to be on the roof. Can you answer any of those questions, Director?
So I appreciate you asking me that question, Chairman. I should have been more clear in my answer when I spoke about where we place personnel in that interview. What I can tell you is that there was a plan in place to provide overwatch, and we are still looking into responsibilities and who was going to provide overwatch. But the Secret Service in general, not speaking specifically to this incident, when we are providing overwatch, whether that be through counter snipers or other technology, prefer to have sterile rooftops.
Okay, so for those who don't know, the term sterile rooftops means that they don't want anyone unauthorized or threatening on those roofs, because that could cause problems.
When we are providing overwatch, whether that be through counter snipers or other technology, prefer to have sterile rooftops.
You prefer? I prefer to have food in my mouth. I prefer to have money in my bank account. Most people prefer to know that they are in a safe and protected environment.
Still an asshole?
But fear not, as House Representative Fallon is about to come not only with receipts challenging her sloped roof BS, but he's also about to reveal that the shooter visited that site more times than she did.
Have you visited the site?
No, I have not.
9 days and you have not visited the site. Okay, there wasn't a CAT team, a full CAT team on site. There wasn't counter surveillance teams on site. But this is the thing. You just said you had the ability to beef up the security. You knew about the threat, and you didn't. The shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have, and he had a drone, and he picked the AGR building. Do you remember in an ABC interview you did that you didn't have people on the roof of the AGR building because you were worried about safety because of the slope?
I recall that statement.
Okay. Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about sloped roofs?
No.
Okay. So why'd you act like there was one? So here's the thing with the slopes. You go all the way up to like 1812, you can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat. And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112. And by the way, the 112 is ADA compliant. You can build a ramp for a wheelchair on a 112 roof. All the law enforcement I've spoken with over the last 9 days are amazed that the AGR rooftop was not secure. And you want to know why? Because it's dangerous. I have never had any long gun training in my life. I own an AR-15, and last time I shot it one time my whole life. It was 6 years ago. That is until Saturday, where we recreated the events, where we recreated what happened in Butler. I was lying prone on a sloped roof at 130 yards at 6:30 at night. And I knew that he had a scope, I didn't know what kind, red dot or magnified. So I shot 8 rounds from both. You know what the result was? 15 out of 16 kill shots. And the one I missed would have hit the president's ear. That's a 94% success rate. And that shooter was a better shot than me. It is a miracle President Trump wasn't killed. You know what else is dangerous? I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful, and you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
God damn. This fool went through the entire trouble of recreating the entire scene to prove a point. And if you ask me, the only reason why Trump is still alive is because his supporters spotted that guy on the roof and started calling him out to the police.
We have criminals, we have drug dealers, we have people that should not be here. On the roof.
Then combine that with the fact that a police officer climbed the roof and confronted this fool, and most likely he got startled, broke his concentration, and when he took that shot, he was not completely focused. And what you are about to find out in this next clip is that a 20-year-old kid with an AR-15 150 meters away was the least of Trump's problems.
Director Cheatle, have you read the intelligence of the generalized threat to Donald Trump by Iran as a result of their desire to retaliate for the killing of Soleimani?
I have.
Have you read or been briefed about the intelligence of the specific recent threat to Donald Trump from Iran?
Yes, I have.
Director Wray, when we were getting our briefing, indicated that he thought the threat assessment should have included this threat from Iran. Is it your testimony today that the threat assessment, since you've read this intelligence, was sufficient to protect him from this threat from Iran?
My testimony today is that the information that we had at the time was known.
Was it sufficient? Director Cheatle, was it sufficient for the Iranian threat that you said you have read the intelligence briefings for?
That information was passed to...
Well, I'm not asking the bureaucratic issue of who did it get passed around to. Director Cheatle, was it sufficient for the specific and generalized threat to Donald Trump's life from Iran?
Yes, I do believe it was.
Director Cheatle, is an Iranian assassin more capable than a 20-year-old?
Sir, I think we've acknowledged that there was gaps and a failure that day.
When I raised this issue with Director Wray, he was incensed. He was shocked that the threat assessment of Iran did not seem to be, as we and I discussed, baked in to your security footprint and your threat assessment. And he went on to say that the generalized threat that he has told the whole country that we are under from a potential terrorist threat. He has said we're under the highest threat level since 9/11, that the lights are flashing red. And he has specifically indicated that people have crossed the southern border as a result of the Biden administration's policy, and that there are in our country today terrorists and individuals who are affiliated with terrorist groups and organizations. That would be a heightened threat environment, Director Cheatle, would it not?
Yes.
Wow, could you imagine if the Iranians actually managed to pull off their own assassination plot? Or even worse, if both them and that 20-year-old kid showed up at the same time?
Complete and total disaster.
And the real weight of this situation is about to completely boil over, as Congresswoman Luna and Congresswoman Mace are about to come tzichia as fuck and say what everyone is thinking.
Both sides of the aisle today have asked for your resignation. Would you like to use my 5 minutes to draft your resignation letter, yes or no?
No, thank you.
Well, that's bull. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th, yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest. Have you provided all memorandums within the Secret Service?
I would have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. You are being dishonest or lying. You're being dishonest here with this committee. These are important questions that the American people want answers to, and you're just dodging.
In my opinion, according to some of the testimony today, I feel that you have perjured yourself in some instances, and so I'm going to ask for a full review of the transcripts by staff, and if you find that to be the case, I do ask that you bring perjury charges against the director. I will say this, it is very frustrating, and I've talked to my colleagues, and we've said it to your face, that you have been up here basically stonewalling our ability to get the answers to the American people. And what I will also say is that every single member of Congress does not feel safe with you in charge. You have heard that, and I think that we are all sitting ducks with you in directing the Secret Service currently. But more importantly, it sends a message to our adversaries that we are not protected, and we are one of the strongest countries in the world, so you have essentially made us a less safe country because of it. As a result of that, I'm asking you to formally step down. I share my same opinions as my Democrat colleagues, and I also think that your efforts to bring forward a full investigation and report in 60 days is unacceptable. And as a result of that, I'm going to do everything in my legislative toolkit to ensure that that happens sooner rather than later. And I'm sure that you know that we brought a vote on inherent contempt against Garland for essentially blocking a congressional investigation. And I don't think that you should be any different. So I will say that I am just completely disgusted by your performance today. And I understand that you're probably in a position where you're being told not to testify, which is why we had to subpoena you. I think that goes back to Garland. But again, that is part of the flushing that we need to get out of Washington, and I would be happy to assist in that process. Chairman, I yield the rest of my time.
And with that, after almost 2 weeks of refusing, Cheatle finally resigns. So you're probably guessing that with Cheatle out, maybe they'll bring in someone who will actually get the job done and thoroughly investigate and finally tell the public what really went down. Well, that might have been a plan until someone leaked some very damning footage that would blow this thing completely out of the water.
Water, big water, ocean water.
The Secret Service was in deep shit. So the Secret Service's massive failure to protect former President Trump is a serious fuck up. They weren't where they were supposed to be, they were seriously short-staffed and improperly staffed, and there were massive holes in their security protocol. But then a video got leaked that revealed that not only did the Secret Service know that this fool was a threat, but they took pictures of this fool before he even loaded his rifle.
So this is the guy that
yes, they sent the yes, Beaver County sniper team that sent the pictures out. This is him.
Okay. Bike in the back. He on that bike?
We don't know.
We don't know. So
I don't know.
Treating that as suspicious device.
Oh, 1 second. I believe the sniper that seen these and sent the pictures is right inside this building. Michelle, is Greg in there? All right. So if you go to that window that's open, and yell for Greg. That's the sniper that sent the original pictures and seen him come from the bike and set the book back down and then lost sight of him.
Okay.
He's the one that sent the pictures out. And I don't know if you got the same ones that I did.
I think I did, yeah.
So we had the picture of that.
I got that.
Okay. And then this is his bike with the stuff. And our sniper seen him walking away from that, I believe.
Okay.
But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures, and called it out.
Okay. So, and we have somebody detained, correct?
That I don't know.
Detained on the side. Our guy that was just up here told me that there's a guy detained. He's the owner of the bike, and I said, no, that's the owner.
Basically, we've been up here, so we wouldn't know that information.
We just want to ask we got over here.
I talked to the guy. Those people detained were filming. Maybe they were involved, maybe they weren't. The guys that saw them filming were like, oh, they were filming us, and then filming the guy up on the roof, and then filming us. And then when shots started firing, they tried to run away. Like, isn't that what everybody would do that has a phone? You know, I'm not saying they weren't, but you know what I mean? Like that.
It's up in the air right now, right?
Right. So I got no problem detaining. Again, I'm just trying to detain those guys, find out what they know, who they are, whatever. I'm trying to get clear information to relay back to DC.
And this set the internet on fire, dude. Twitter conspiracy nerds were working overtime, analyzing every frame of the video, and taking them statements about them detaining 2 people, and running with the idea that there might even be a second shooter.
Drama, my favorite.
But one thing is absolutely undeniable. The Secret Service knew about this guy and did absolutely nothing. And during that hearing, the former Secret Service director came under the microscope again.
Before former President Trump got up on the stage at around 6 p.m. on Saturday, July 13th, that the local police had identified and even photographed a man who was acting suspiciously. And this man, who turned out to be the gunman, had been flagged as a potential threat. Is that accurate?
What I can say is that the individual was identified as suspicious.
So he was known to be suspicious before former President Trump took the stage.
That is the information I have received.
Why was he allowed to take the stage with a suspicious person having been identified in the crowd?
So I appreciate the question, and I'd like to make 2 points. If the detail had been past information that there was a threat, the detail would never have brought the former president out onto stage. That is what we do, and that is who we are. We are charged with protecting all of our protectees.
So you distinguish between someone who is suspicious and someone who's threatening, is that right?
I do. There are a number of times at protective events where suspicious people are identified, and those individuals have to be investigated and determined what is it that identifies that person as suspicious.
So the Secret Service did not know that the gunman actually had a weapon before President Trump was allowed to get up on the stage?
To the best of our knowledge and the facts that we have at this point, that is correct.
So can you answer this question, which I think is on the mind of most Americans thinking about this? How can a 20-year-old with his father's AR-15 assault weapon climb onto a roof with a direct 150-yard line of sight to the speaker's podium without the Secret Service or local police stopping him?
So again, sir, I will say we are 9 days out from this event, and I would like to know those answers as well, which is why we are going through these investigations to be able to determine that fully.
My God. There are a lot of conspiracy theories floating around about how this all went down. And considering how ridiculous of a screw up this is and continues to be, it only further feeds into the possibility that this might actually be an inside job. And in the final chapter, I'm going to reveal something to you that might just turn this conspiracy theory into an actual conspiracy. All because of one single fact. Trump had been at war with the Secret Service for years. Fun fact, the Secret Service has an annual budget north of $3 billion.
Billions and billions and billions and billions and...
That's more than the GDP of nearly 20 countries, yo. So you would think with such an abundant resource when it comes to protecting presidents and former presidents, they would spare no expense to get the job done. Well, as you're about to see, that is exactly what did not happen.
Director, were you guessing or lying? The day after President Trump is shot, Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said, quote, "The assertion that a member of the former president's security team requested additional security resources that the U.S. Secret Service or the Department of Homeland Security rebuffed is absolutely false." The next day, Secretary Mayorkas said, "That is an unequivocally false assertion. We had not received any request for additional security measures that were rebuffed." But 5 days later, the Washington Post said this: "Top officials repeatedly rejected requests from Donald Trump's security detail for more personnel." The next day, the New York Times said this: "Mr. Guglielmi acknowledged that the Secret Service had turned down some requests for additional federal security assets for Mr. Trump's detail." So which is it? Because both statements can't be true. Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
Neither, sir, and I appreciate the question. So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial.
Well, tell the committee which it was. They asked for additional help in some form or another. You told them no. How many times did you tell them no, and what'd you tell them no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms, the Secret Service is judicious with their resources based on...
What does some requests mean? How many times? Some indicate requests is plural. So more than once they asked for additional help and you turned them down. What did they ask for and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
Now, although Cheatle didn't say much, her silence actually said a lot because she unintentionally revealed something very important. Trump and the Secret Service have a long history of serious beef.
We can't sell beef.
Wakaricoho. I spent nearly 3 hours going down a deep rabbit hole that uncovered nearly 8 years of shit that have been swept under a rug. And it makes both the Secret Service and Trump look bad.
Fuck.
Okay, so going back as far as 2017, when Trump first took office, there have been multiple reports that Trump has been verbally abusive to his Secret Service agents. But as I'm sure many Taiwanese people know all too well, oftentimes bosses can be real assholes. But here's where things get real tricky. You see, back on January 6, 2021, the day of the insurrection, Donald Trump allegedly got into a fight with the head of his security team.
When the president got in the beast, he thought that they were going up to the Capitol, and when Bobby had relayed to him, "We're not. We don't have the assets to do it. It's not secure. We're going back to the West Wing." The president had very strong, a very angry response. The president reached up towards the front of the vehicle to grab at the steering wheel. Mr. Trump then used his free hand to lunge towards Bobby Engel. And when Mr. Renato had recounted this story to me, he had motion towards his clavicles.
Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke a bitch?
Now, I think it's fair to say that all of this could be hearsay or bullshit, because as far as we know, there was no actual video or audio evidence that confirms that Trump was verbally abusive to his Secret Service agents. But even if it were true, surely having an app For a boss, there's no excuse to let the guy get taken out, right? But then the Government House Committee got involved, and they started poking around in the Secret Service and Donald Trump's financial records and found things that are absolutely insane, dude. According to public record, Donald Trump had been charging the Secret Service nearly $2 million a year for protection. Whenever Trump would visit any of his hotels, he would charge the Secret Service 5 times the government rate for hotel accommodations, averaging about 4万块台币 per night. And you have to remember, he's got multiple members of the Secret Service on his team, so that means they need more than one room. When he wanted to relax and go golfing on one of his Trump golf courses, he would send the Secret Service a bill for $5,000 every time. And when Trump needed time off to relax at one of his many resorts, he refused to charge the Secret Service a day rate, instead insisting upon a monthly rate at $18,000 a month. All that money went directly into Trump's pocket.
I made a tremendous amount of money. Tremendous amount. It's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even believe it myself. You want to know the truth? I don't even believe it.
Now, some of you might be thinking,
那川普就是做生意而已啊，为什么 Secret Service 没有杀价？应该是他们的错吧？
Well, here's the kicker. You see, the Secret Service aren't actually the ones paying the bill. All of that money spent on protection during and after Trump's presidency, ultimately, the 发票 got sent to one group of people.
Wait for it. 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 Keep waiting.
The American taxpayers. That's right, America foot the bill for all of it. So that means Trump was not only fleecing a government agency, he was fleecing the very people he had sworn to serve.
America first.
Now, all I've revealed to you is verified and publicly available information, and I'll leave a link to the documents in the description down below. So let's lay this all out, shall we? You have a guy who has allegedly verbally abused and berated the very people who have sworn to take a bullet for him, and on top of that, he has a proven track record of not draining the swamp, but draining the bank accounts of the Secret Service and the American taxpayer for his own benefit. And this went on for 7 long years, until possibly, maybe, 有可能, the Secret Service decided that they were gonna 开始偷懒. And this is where we start our conspiracy theory. They started showing up late for work, slacking off on the job, and maybe on the day of that rally, when they had already received a briefing about a possible threat from the Iranians, to spite Trump, they decided to send this fool 3 tiny women to protect him. And when Teen Trump complains and asks for more taller people, they deny him. And when the Secret Service survey the perimeter before the rally, they deliberately leave one building unprotected. And upon spotting a 20-year-old kid with a surveillance drone, a rifle, and a rangefinder walking around the rally, they conveniently look the other way. And when that same 20-year-old kid climbs the rooftop of the building they left unmanned, sure, they snap a photo of that fool and send it up the chain of command, but the chain of command don't give a fuck, and they do absolutely nothing. And even though they knew at least for an hour that this kid was up to no good, within 10 minutes of Trump taking that stage and them classifying this kid as a threat, they still did nothing.
因为老板对我们不好啊，要发生的事情就要发生的吧，不是我的问题啊。
So they set this fool up not by planning or conspiring, but by fucking 偷懒呢。有可能 anyway. And let's be real, with all we know up until now, it's actually very fucking 可能. Or maybe I'm just full of shit. Either way, let me know what you think down below. Remember to keep it civil, like, comment, share this video with your friends, and I will see you on the flip side. Peace!